right. But as long as we're doing it, there's nobody saying anything. It's just like the quiet storm that you were talking about earlier. And so could you reflect on what methodology that could be brought to the community to begin to turn the tide on this form of self-genocide?
Very good question. I think one of the first things that we have to do is find a way to mobilize, just as the female in Zara Mendez in Boston mobilized and created a foundation, and she is working with children, young people in the criminal system as well as those out. She and others have formed bridges. Now ultimately that will reduce the violence in that community. But we need to do, I mean, we need so much. One of the things I don't think that we realize is we live in a dysfunctionally functional nation. That's an oxymoron. How can you be functioning in a dysfunctional society? Well, we do it. We do it every day. I mean, it's almost like we embrace behavior that is insane, but yet we don't even acknowledge that it's insane. I mean, it's just like the way, I mean, because everybody else is wearing the baggy stuff, you know, our kids do that. And I mean, I was on that, sorry. I was going to say I was there on the airport when I was leaving Sunday morning going to Boston. A young man was standing next to me, and his pants were about to fall off. I mean, you know, just draws. I mean, just draws for days. And I wanted to say, you know, fool, your pants are falling down. I didn't say anything, because that's not the right way to dress them. But the sky cap said to me, Mr. King, this brother needs a belt, don't he? And I said, well, his mama's standing there. He pulled his pants up. But I'm saying, you know, the problem is his mama. She's standing there, she didn't say anything. Right. It's okay for him to just say. I mean, you know, the parent has to take responsibility. Now, that also exists as it relates to the killing. We have to find a way to compel our parents to take action. And what that means is we've got to do quadruple mentoring, because our children don't know anything but this. And this is what they're programmed constantly. And so there are no opportunities. When I was growing up, there was a program called CEDA. So that every summer, if a youngster needed a job, he or she was given a job in Park Service, in City Hall, or somewhere. They would run funds. That youngster didn't have time to get in trouble. Today, we don't give our young people anything to do. We don't challenge them. So they get out there trying to sling that package so they can make money. That's not reality. And the reality is, if you're in that lifestyle, if you're in that fast lane, at some point, the numbers are not going to add up, and you may come to your demise. As you said, 41 youngsters did. There's something tragically wrong with that. Now, our churches have got to do more. They got to take a lead. They can't be taillights. They have to be taking the lead, in my judgment. Our schools have got to try to do more. I don't know exactly what they can do. You know, God knows the police have their hands full, because they're running around trying to contain all this. It's tough. And, you know, the only solution I know is we have to love that hostility out of them. I mean, what I do know is when you expose people to the things that my father and others have said, when they truly embrace and understand that, now you're not going to change millions overnight, but you got to change leaders. And when you change their hearts, there are people out here working, but they're just not enough. So the more that we can increase that circle of people who are on the case, the more we'll ultimately be able to address that issue. And that's why I think I started off talking about the television, because it's the greatest culprit of all, in my judgment. And then the reality is, we as people do not demand anything different. We have to demand a different kind of programming, and ultimately we will get a different result for our youngsters. And I think those who are coming up now, who are between 1st and 7th grade, you know, as I said to the dean, either for 3 or for 7 years, they're going to see this positive example of the president. And that will have an impact that we will never be able to measure, because every day you're seeing someone positive that you can at least emulate. I want to be like that. I may not be president of the United States, but I can be a senator, I can be a congressman, I can be a board of education member, I can be a state senator or state representative. I can provide leadership for my community. So I think we're going to see in time some results. Okay. There's just two, so I'll be quick.
I wondered if you'd be willing to share one of your favorite memories of your dad.
Okay. Probably, I'm going to share a funny memory. Why don't you ask your question, because this is the last one as well.
Thanks again for being here. My question, you talked about this idea that nonviolence does not humiliate its adversaries. I was wondering if you could expand on that some more. I think it's a beautiful concept.
The story first, two stories. My father never whipped us, but he got mad at us, I think, came up with his bright. I mean, children, we saw our father, he was like our playmate. He'd come in the house and put us on the refrigerator, we would jump in his arms. I was 10 years old when he was killed, Yolanda was 12, Dexter was 7, and Bernice was 5. And so, in the younger years, when we were a little bit younger, as I say, he'd toss us around in the house. We could throw the ball in the house. We could do all kind of fun stuff, because out in the front yard, people would come up and not intentionally, but they'd end up disturbing him. And so he wanted to have quality time with us as children. So one day we wanted to play with him, and he was lying down on the sofa up in our living room. And so Yolanda came up with a bright idea to pour water in his ear. And, I'd not seen our father mad. Naturally, they did that. They did. It wasn't me. I didn't know. I was not leading that campaign. And my father jumped up and came after us. He tried to catch us. We scattered his kids. Funny story. But some of my favorite memories, one of my favorite memories was I used to accompany him to the YMCA every week to get exercise, Dexter and I. And it was a wonderful experience because he taught us to swim. We became avid swimmers. It was interesting. I guess a child is easier to teach a child than adults. My mom never learned how to swim. Daddy was a great swimmer, but mother just never learned. But he taught us. He taught all four of us. So all of us were very good swimmers and strong swimmers, and that's largely because, again, Dexter and I would be at the Y with Daddy getting exercise, and that was fun. And in Atlanta, there's a highway called Interstate 8575. When we were little children, for those of you who've been to Atlanta, that highway didn't exist. In fact, we lived on a road near the Carter Center where they were making that highway. So we used to ride our bicycles with our father on that highway. I mean, just, wonderful experiences that we had as children. And finally, traveling with him. I had an opportunity, Dexter and I, to travel with him 7 or 8 times around the nation to see him engaged in the work that he did. And that was a wonderful experience. On some occasions, I traveled along with him, but most of the time it was Dexter and I. Memories I will always cherish because I never saw him in the context of his work or he always made time for everyone, no matter who they were. He was very patient with his time, and I guess I subconsciously tried to embrace that quality. Now, on the last question, not humiliating. Nonviolence doesn't humiliate an opponent. Now,